When you were making The Walking Dead, did it feel special? Did it feel like
You know, I tell the story a lot. I had done a lot of games before the Walking Dead game, and when I got the script and audition, I said, oh, I kind of like this. But in the first 20 minutes of recording, I knew this was something special. It was probably the best script or the most acting intensive storytelling script that I had done in a video game, and it just, you know, made my hair tingle a little bit because it was so good. I didn't know that we were going to win 100 Game of the Year awards and that Melissa and I would be in London at the BAFTAs later, but yeah. I knew it was good.
Telltale's Walking Dead series has fallen from grace. It went from being one of the greatest character-driven stories to one of the most repetitive and uninspired stories I've seen. Now, I'm not saying the final season is bad in any way. It's a solid finale to the series. The Walking Dead Season 2 was a decent follow-up, but managed to fall flat with its boring and unlikable characters, its messy story that feels like it was written during development, and the fact that it ruined a previously established character and completely destroyed the arc they had in the first game. And A New Frontier was just one of the most underwhelming and fundamentally flawed games I've ever played, with the worst characters, a terrible plot, and choices that mostly proved to take control away from the players instead of grant it. It was definitely the black sheep of the series, and it felt like filler for a real final game. But the original game, The Walking Dead, is by far one of the greatest stories I've ever had the fortune of experiencing in my life. Is it hyperbolic to say a point-and-click adventure game is one of the greatest games ever made? Maybe. But do I care? No. Telltale's The Walking Dead is a game that puts the comics and the TV show to shame. It's a game that manages to leave a lasting impact on just about everybody who plays it. It has some of the best characters in any form of media. Characters we grow with and watch them change for the better or for the worse. The Walking Dead is a game about how people would react to the end of the world. What would you do, and who would you trust? And whose head would you be willing to step on in order to protect the ones you love? This game has a lot of characters in it, but the most important two are unarguably Lee and Clementine. In this game, you take control of Lee via what he says and how he goes about certain situations. Your choices in turn will affect how the characters view you and how Clementine will turn out in the future. I, like most people, prefer the game over the TV show itself, which, yes, isn't over yet, and is as terrible as ever. Telltale's Walking Dead centers around Lee and Clementine, but also manages to create equally interesting characters. They all had clear motives and causes for why they act that way. You have characters like Lily, who at first seem like the biggest assholes ever, only to be shown otherwise to the player. Unlike the new games, which had a designated nice character or a designated dickhead character, who probably dies. Instead, let's talk about where it all started. This game is hard to talk about. How do I make a video about a game that has hundreds of branching dialogue options with several different scenarios that the player's choices will either cause or prevent? It's hard to talk about this game as if it has one designated plot, cause it doesn't. Sure, this game isn't as controllable as others, but more or less started a trend of choose your own adventure type games. For clarification, I'm going to discuss the story that played out for me, and most other people, who, you know, didn't treat every other character like shit. So I'm going to discuss the choices I made on my last playthrough and how it affected the story. So let's begin with... The beginning of The Walking Dead is perfect. Our introduction to Lee isn't a good one. He's being hauled away to prison for a crime that he's 100% guilty of. What the hell, Telltale? How are we supposed to sympathize with a murderer? And that's the point. The Walking Dead has major themes of redemption. Whether a character chooses to be redeemed or lets their choices destroy them is completely up to them. And the player, as you can either bring out the good in people or make them embrace their bad. The game has an indicator in the corner every time you've made a choice that will affect a character, whether you side with them or tell them off for their beliefs. Certain characters might at first come off as great people, but their beliefs begin to unravel as the game goes on, while some characters are the complete opposite. Lee is traveling to prison at the beginning of The Walking Dead when a police officer starts up a conversation with you. And I kinda liked him. He doesn't come off as a dick, he chooses to treat Lee with respect. You have a conversation about your hometown and Lee's case, and you begin to feel a moment of calm, and the game reminds you what it's about.
I got another good one for you. This one's a little bit less depressing and a bit more hilarious, if I do say so.
What's out?
This other time...
I love that so much. The game takes the time to establish who Lee is without dragging it on too much. It also creates a sense of falsified hope before everything goes downhill, literally. I, like a lot of players, begin to like the police officer, but before we could even learn more about him, he's murdered by walkers, and we have to hear his screams from outside the car. Lee wakes up from the wreck and finds out his leg is broken as fuck, and we see the aftermath of the attack. This scene is tense as hell. You slowly maneuver over to the man's corpse as you're expected to steal the keys from him to uncuff yourself. No thank you, game, I think I'll pass. After that painfully suspenseful scene is over, you're filled with a false sense of hope again. Oh shit, fucking run, run, run! Why are you crawling? Fucking stand up! Shit, load the gun, ah! Fucking course you dropped it. Load it, load it, load it, shoot, 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 shoot! Fuck. What the fuck? That was fucking amazing! The game is great at building tension. You never know when to let your guard down, and you'll never know who's gonna die and when. I love the unpredictability of it all. The best zombie stories share the same trait. But I'm not gonna lie, when it comes to the third and fourth game, you can kinda figure out who's gonna die if you pay attention. Lee's first kill is extremely effective. We're not even 10 minutes in and he just had to take the life of someone we just met. Lee is able to kill, this has already been established, but he's clearly shooken up by this. And in the distance, Lee sees someone. He calls out to them only to attract the walkers who killed the officer. Lee is then forced to run through the forest with his fucked up leg whilst a bunch of angry, hungry cannibals chase him. Holy shit. This is insanely perfect. The walkers begin to beat on the fence when they're lured away by gunshots. After the coast is clear, Lee searches the house he found in search of help. But the place is in ruins. Blood covers the walls and the furniture is flipped over. Lee listens to the answering machine when...
We're still in Savannah. Ed had a little incident with some crazy guy near the hotel, so we had to get him back to the ER and have it checked out. Anyway, he's not feeling well enough to drive back tonight, so we're staying an extra day. Thanks so much for looking after Clementine, and I promise we'll be back in time before your spring break.
Message 2, left at 11:19 p.m.
Oh my God, finally. I don't know if you tried to reach us. All the calls are getting dropped. They're not letting us leave and aren't telling us anything about Atlanta. Please, just leave the city and take Clementine with you back to Murrieta. I've got to get back to the hospital. Please let me know that you're safe.
Message 3, left at 6:51 a.m.
Clementine, baby. If you can hear this, call the police. That's 911. We love you. We love you. We love you.
In this moment, both Lee and the player find out how serious the situation is. Lee finds a walkie-talkie in a drawer and begins talking to the girl he saw earlier. It seems to be going well, and then... Jesus Christ, again, can we not get one moment of quiet for fuck's sake? Lee beats the zombie to death with a hammer, and then we meet Clementine. Clementine is fucking awesome. While she's kind of a generic little girl character at first, you can't tell me you didn't love her when you played this game. Lee and Clementine have a conversation about her parents. She's worried that they'll come home and she'll be gone, but Lee isn't willing to leave Clementine alone. So he makes a decision to look for help. As we leave the house, Clementine brings her walkie-talkie and Lee promises to take care of her until her parents come back. Clementine joins Lee and our big adventure finally begins. As they leave, they meet Sean and Chet, two survivors looking to make their way back home before dark. They talk for a bit and Lee decides to help them clear the road and return for a ride. As they start moving the cars, a small group of walkers show up. They hop in the truck and escape in just the nick of time. Shane takes Lee and Clementine to his father's farm. This farm is very important for the first episode. And whilst they don't spend a whole entire fucking season here, unfortunately, it still leaves a lasting impact on the player. There's a couple characters in this farm that you're introduced to. Sean's father Herschel and Kenny. Him and his family are staying here so they can fix their car and get on the road the next morning. Depending on how you talk to survivors here will affect their opinions on you, whether you choose to lie to them about your situation or be honest. But for Lee and Clementine, it finally seems like a moment of calm. Herschel and his son are very likable, as well as Kenny and his family. His wife Katja and his son Duck. Kenny especially is really fucking dope, offering Lee and Clementine a ride to Macon. Aw shit, thanks man, god thanks can't get any better, well shit. This bastard of a game does it for the 4th time. It takes away the feeling of comfort right from underneath the player. And this time it takes away a character we were just getting to know. Sean's death establishes several things about this game. The fact that you're forced to make hard choices and sometimes people just can't be saved, no matter how hard you try. After Sean's death, Herschel kicks you the fuck out of there and the survivors make their way to Macon together. Kenny's truck breaks down, causing him to wander on foot. They don't walk very long before...
Hey there, you friendly? Truck's run out of gas. Fuck!
We're trapped!
The game proceeds to fuck us again! But don't worry, a group of survivors are here to help. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. Great. As soon as we step foot in the drugstore, the survivors immediately go at each other. Larry and his daughter Lily are hesitant to let Lee's group in, as they believe Duck was bitten on the way in. Larry and Kenny fucking hate each other, and that's established almost immediately. Larry wants to throw your group out in fear that Duck might be bitten. And obviously this doesn't sit well with Kenny. They argue, both making decent points, and we learn a lot about both of them in this scene. Especially Larry, who thinks it's okay to say shit like this.
Little boy, before you eat your mommy, you can watch your dad get his nose broken. He's covered in muck. She'll find the bite. Watch. She won't. And if she does, the first thing he'll do is sink his teeth into his mom's face. Then, when she's dead, he'll probably pounce on your little girl. She'll turn fast. And then, there'll be 3.
Yeah, I don't think anyone sided with him. But the thing is, they're the same side of the coin, they just don't realize it. They both just want what's best for their families, and will stop at nothing to achieve that goal. But the initial difference between them is Larry is the biggest dickhead ever. He's definitely a loving father, but this man is the definition of petty and spiteful. He doesn't hold back in an argument at all. Clementine goes to use the bathroom and is attacked by a walker, who didn't want his privacy disturbed, obviously. Lee murders the shit out of it, which later prompts a conversation.
There was that thing in the bathroom. It tried to get me.
I know.
But you stopped it.
Yeah, I did.
Can you do that more?
Well, I'm not gonna go looking for 'em.
I mean, get the dangerous ones.
I'm gonna try.
Good.
That got to me. It might not be that important in the long run, but in my head it is, so fuck off. We meet the other survivors, who consist of Duck, a tech genius, and generally nervous guy, and Carly, a reporter who's a great fucking shot, and Glenn. You know who Glenn is, come on. All these characters have different personalities and personal traits and benefits. Duck's craftiness is something that helps significantly, and Carly is level-headed and smart. Also, like I said, she's a good fucking shot. Larry has a heart attack caused by Maslow's dickhead syndrome, and you have to get behind the counter to get his meds. The pharmacy you're in was owned by Lee's parents, and as you search the building for a way behind the counter, Lee also begins to piece together what happened to his family.
I can't think about them in here.
The initial reveal of the bloodstained room is heartbreaking. We don't know much about Lee's life before the apocalypse, but you can tell by the hurt in his eyes, and the fact that he never got closure with his family will haunt him. The most Lee can do is give Clementine closure with her family. Clem and Lee unblock the pharmacy door and have an extremely memorable conversation.
Why don't you want to talk about your family? Do they, hate you?
I hope not. It's just complicated, that's all.
Why?
It just is.
But you love them, right?
Yeah, of course. Look, my family's gone and I just wish things would have been different.
Yeah.
I got into some trouble and I didn't talk to them for a while. This used to be their store. But let's just keep that between you and me, okay?
Whilst they're searching the back room, Lee comes across a framed picture of him and his family. He tears himself out of the picture, which says a lot about how he sees himself right now. He assumed his family hated him and he doesn't feel like he should be a part of that picture, especially after what he's done. After he tears the picture, Carly confronts Lee. She knows who he is and what he's done. Carly is easily one of the best characters in the game. Instead of pointing fingers, she decides to understand Lee's perspective. She's been following his case and says this.
I paid attention to that trial. Maybe you're a murderer, but I don't really care. Frankly, that's a skill that might come in handy.
If you play your cards right, Carly will become attached to Lee over the course of the game. Glenn leaves the drugstore to scavenge fuel across Macon and then immediately gets into trouble. Lee and Carly go searching for him in a shitty motel crawling with walkers. After Glenn climbs out of the cooler, he tells you there's a girl trapped on the top floor. I love this segment. This game isn't well known for its moment-to-moment gameplay, but I really enjoyed the segments that required you to figure shit out. You are tasked with taking out every single walker to save that girl. So you get a little bit of stabby, a little bit of oh shit, and then you crush a dude with a car.
Dude, where'd your weapon go?
After Lee takes out the walkers upstairs, the girl denies to open the door for him. So, naturally, he cuts that shit down. The girl gives up and opens the door since, well, you know, Lee's acting like Jack fucking Torrance over here. The girl opens the door and we learn the unfortunate truth. The girl has been bitten. It's over for her. She begins begging for the gun so that she doesn't come back. This is the game's introduction to hard choices you have to make. You can refuse her the gun, but she steals it from you and kills herself anyway. You can give her the gun and she'll be thankful, but your fellow survivors won't see you the same. After the girl takes her life, you return to the drugstore. None of you will forget what happened. At the drugstore, things are no better. Larry is still sick and you have no way to get behind the counter. That is, until you talk to Doug. Doug tells you the front gate is locked so you can take a look outside. And outside we find Lee's brother. Lee, not wanting to expose himself as a convicted murderer, has to ignore his pain for a while. Which is tragic. After distracting the walkers, Lee opens the lock with the fire axe he stole from the motel. He slowly makes his way across the street where his brother waits. The walker reaches out for Lee, and he's faced with the idea that maybe this would have happened if he had been there. Lee doesn't get much time to grieve though because Doug seems to forget that walkers are prone to sound.
Did you find them yet?
Give me a second.
After Lee says his goodbyes, he's forced to kill his brother.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I wasn't here. But knowing you were to take care of him through all of it, that helped.
That's tragic. And it's not the last time this will happen. Most everything that happens in this first episode is a preview for the player, and for Lee for what the future will hold for them. After looting his brother, the walkers are lured to Lee. Probably because Doug won't stop fucking yelling. So Lee and Doug make their way back inside. With the newly acquired keys, Lee and Lily enter the pharmacy to get Larry's medication, and... well, shit. Walkers come down hard at the drugstore and Kenny takes charge, which Lily clearly doesn't fucking like. As the walkers break into the store, the survivors begin confessing things to each other. This is your first major choice involving your friends' lives. The game makes you choose Doug or Carly. This is the shit this game is famous for. Whether that be having to choose someone or having to decide whether they live or die. It's hard to get through and it never gets easier. The game will play out slightly different depending on your choice. And even though it was hard, I chose Carly, which unfortunately meant the survivors begin their escape to Kenny's truck when Clementine is attacked again. Lee straight up game ends the walker, and as he tries to enter the back of the store, this happens.
No!
Depending on how you treated Kenny will depict what he says here for you. For me, I got...
Especially a good friend.
aw shit, thanks man. The survivors take refuge in the motel from earlier. As everyone settles in, you go around and talk to them individually.
I respect that.
You guys be safe.
We'll try.
And Lee, you know, if this doesn't get better, people are going to give up. Like the girl from upstairs. Are you just gonna let them? You told Carly to give her the gun.
Yeah, I did.
Maybe you were right. I don't know how to handle something like that. Anyway.
What Glenn and my playthrough said really stuck with me, and I couldn't help but think about it later down the line. Glenn leaves, Larry threatens you because he knows who you are, and then Lily, Kenny, and Lee finally put aside their differences for a little bit. and finally agree on something. And for a second, we get a glimmer of hope.
There are worse places to call home.
Yeah, you're right. You know, guys, I think it's going to be okay.
Oh god damn it. Episode 2 takes place a couple months after the first one. This episode is interesting to me, in a good way. It feels like the developers really wanted to step it up with this one, and whilst I don't think everything works, cough cough cough, Mark, I still think this episode is heartbreaking, entertaining, and critical to the story moving forward. It teaches a lot to our survivors and also sets up the game's conclusion. Episode 2 opens with Lee and Markiplier hunting for food. Several months have passed, making it fall. Mark, a new character we know literally nothing about. I don't hate this character, I just don't like his inclusion that much. He doesn't really add anything to the narrative and mostly just serves as the kill-off character. In the intro they literally use him as an exposition machine, going on and on about things we missed between episodes. This is one of my only problems with the game. The gap between the first episode and the second one is distracting, and I think this was Telltale's cue to show, not tell. Instead of telling us, why couldn't you just show us, you know? Whatever, it only happens once and we really don't miss anything major. But like I said, I don't hate this character. And, wait, are you trying to shoot a bird? Okay, now I do hate this dumbass. Lee and Mark talk about how much Larry hates Lee and how he decked his ass last episode. Mark and Lee keep searching when suddenly...
Shit, was that Kenny?
I don't know. Come on.
They rush to where the sounds are coming from and, well, shit. Kenny rushes over and the new characters, Travis and Ben, explain their teacher got stuck in a bear trap. They ask Lee for help, so they get to work at prying the bear trap free. They pry at the bear trap and attempt to cut the chain. Well, why didn't you say that earlier, you dickhead? The man begs you not to chop off his leg, and if you don't, you'll be forced to watch as he dies. There's no other way to save him. If you do chop his fucking leg off, it'll result in Travis's death via walkers. Even though it seemed pointless, I decided to chop the man's leg off nonetheless. Travis got sick from watching me, that fucking pussy, and as we begin escaping, he's caught off guard by a pack of walkers. The poor kid doesn't escape. We watch as he's snacked on by the walkers before Ben lets out one final. I really liked this intro. Yeah, the exposition was kind of annoying, but it really opened a memorable last episode with a bang. Lee, Mark, and Kenny return to the hotel with their newly wounded friend. Oh, and Shaggy. Lily immediately gets on their case for bringing them more mouths to feed. This is one of the first arguments in this game you'll need to settle between them. Lily says we shouldn't bring more survivors in, and Kenny argues that we can't leave them to die. Both sides of the argument are reasonable. Kenny's just being considerate whilst Lily's considering the group itself. The arguments between these two characters are super memorable, because it isn't the good character versus the bad character. They both have good intentions, they just can't see eye to eye on what's right. Kenny brings up the food supply and Lily gets heated. She tells Lee to hand out the rations this time. This is not an easy task. The game has a quick cutscene showing the characters glance at Lee as he's forced to make a choice, and it's extremely effective. I had trouble making the choices I did. Obviously first I gave the kids food, then Ben, don't judge me, and then Mark because man was literally on the verge of death. Everyone seemed okay with my decision except for Larry, but fuck Larry. Katja calls Lee over to give him the bad news about their new friend. They have a short conversation about how he bled out when suddenly, what the fuck? Lee attacks the walker and you enter a tense first-person sequence where you have to bash his head on the side of the truck. Mark tries to hit the walker with an axe but misses, and Lee falls off the back of the truck. The walker grabs onto him and as a last resort, Lee digs his thumbs into the walker's eyes. It gets uncomfortably close to biting him when, Jesus Christ. Everyone takes a moment to calm down and then begin questioning Ben about when the man was bitten. That's when they learn.
Why didn't you tell us he was bitten? What? He was bitten, and you didn't say a goddamn word. But he wasn't bitten, I swear. Well, your not-bitten friend here came back to life and tried to kill my wife. What? Wait, you all don't know? What the hell are you talking about? It's not the bite that does it. You come back no matter how you die. If you don't destroy the brain, that's just what happens. It's gonna happen to all of us.
Holy shit. This reveal is fucking amazing. It surprised the thought of everyone when the man turned, but the reveal that you turn no matter how you die is horrifying. It doesn't matter if you get bit or shot, you come back no matter what, and that's insane. The survivors remark about how that makes sense. How else did a virus spread so fast? I mean, it's called the wildfire virus for a reason. To break the tension, or rather add to it, these two southern guys come walking down the street. Our survivors confront them, but they just seem like genuine nice guys. They offer to trade fuel for food, and as this episode established in the fucking name, it's something the group needs. The survivors agree and a few of them set out to the dairy with them. Here we find out their names are Andy and Danny, and they've been surviving with their mom Brenda for the last couple months. The dairy they own is surrounded by an electric fence that keeps out the walkers. So they have food and a fucking electric fence. This place is perfect. The group goes back to the motel to get the others, and Lee and Mark stay behind to help out with the dead walkers stuck on the fence. As Lee and Mark clear out the walkers, they discuss the risk they'd be taking by moving in there. They come across a part of the fence that caved in via walker's weight. They jump over it and pry the bastard off, and...
What just happened?
The fuck?
Why the hell would he turn the fence on? He knows we're out here.
Oh shit, oh fuck! Lee and Mark are attacked by a group of Daryl Dixons, I mean a group of bandits. Yeah. What follows is a short segment where you're forced to follow a moving tractor for safety. The tractor gets caught on a corpse and you have to dispose of it, and then it immediately gets stuck on another one.
How many of those things did we push down?
Yeah, good fucking question, man. I really don't know. Holy shit, oh fuck! After ripping the walker in half like a fucking beast, you now have a new threat in the form of a cracker. Crawler. Fuck. My phone autocorrected crawler to cracker, but I mean, he kinda is though. So now that the cracker is chasing you, Lee suddenly moves about as fast as a snail, and that motherfucker almost ate my ass out. But we made it last second. Lee and Mark confront the family about the small problem they have being a giant group of bandits in the forest. And the rest of our group arrives as soon as the conversation started, which was obviously not a good first impression. Andy and Danny apologize profusely and promise to deal with the problem. Brendan takes Mark aside to deal with the arrow in his back, and Danny asks Lee to stake out the camp with him. But before I went, I pushed Clementine on the swing, which was just the best. Danny and Lee search the forest only to come across the smallest camp that couldn't belong to the group from earlier. The two of them search the camp for literally anything they can find and turn up with nothing, except the camcorder and...
The hell?
Don't you fucking move. Shit! Put your guns down. I ain't going back.
The lady who's confronting Lee and Danny's clearly lost it. She's talking like she's from a mental institution, and she thinks she can kill two grown men with one crossbow. What, are you fucking dumb? You're fucking dumb, aren't you? Lee confronts the woman about stealing Clementine's hat, but she goes on a long tangent about the dairy and how much danger Lee's group's in when...
Boy, tell him what you got in mind for... Oh.
Danny kills her without hesitation. Of course, the more extreme player has the option to shoot her themselves, but most players were like me, curious as fuck. And now that Danny has proven to be the shadiest man on Earth, Lee and him make their way back to the dairy. Lee becomes reasonably angry at Danny, and the dude just continues to be more shady than Slim Shady himself. Danny fucks off and Lee spots Clementine in the barn. In the barn is Katja, Duck, Andy, and Clementine tells Lee how the cow in there is super fucking pregnant. The scene is just awesome. Clementine rarely gets a chance to be a kid, and she's gotten to relax all day long. That just makes me happy as hell. After Lee walks to the back of the barn, he comes across a big-ass locked door. Kenny comes out of nowhere like the fucking Batman and tells you he saw a big-ass saw in there. The two of them team up to attempt to get inside, but Andy comes over and deters them. You leave the barn and decide to distract him. Lee finds a multi-tool in the toolbox and removes the belt from the generator powering the fence. This will cause a distraction for Andy as the game spells out to you.
Fucking thing through a belt. Damn it, dog. Ah, son of a... Fuck.
The dinner bell rings before you can open the door, and Kenny dips, saying he'll make an excuse for you. After opening the door, surprise surprise, the room is filled with cranberry juice. Andy comes in and makes an excuse.
Dinner time.
Why was there so much blood in there?
Look, we have food here, but Danny and I still gotta do a lot of hunting to keep everyone fed. When we catch something in the woods, we skin it and dress it back there. Mama
Yeah, I'm sorry, but what fucking animal did you catch that bled this much? Was it that fucking bird? I bet it was that fucking bird. I knew Mark should have taken his shot. What a dumbass. Andy tells you it's time for supper, and we enter a cozy dining room where a cooked meal is waiting, as promised. Lee excuses himself to wash his hands because he's the only one with manners here, but in reality he just sneaks upstairs. He follows a long orange cable and plugs in to discover a whole room hidden behind the walls. He goes in the room where Mark should be, only to find it barren, besides a small beam of light pouring out from under the bookshelf. After moving the bookshelf, Lee finds a hidden door, and when he opens the door, he finds... Holy shit. The whole episode, the family's been kind of off, but the final reveal of what their motives were is nightmare fuel, to say the least. And what makes it worse is the meat that your friends are about to eat, the meat that Clementine is about to eat, is human. Lee rushes downstairs and stops them. The family calls him ridiculous until he says,
Mark is upstairs with his fucking legs cut off. You're eating him.
That's crazy.
They clearly start getting anxious, then the final nail in the coffin hits. The family then reveals themselves. They believe the only way to survive in this world is to hurt others weaker than you. They think you're as good as dead if you aren't willing to step on a couple of heads along the way. Lee and his group disagree with this idea and fight back when suddenly Lee wakes up in a meat locker with Clem, Kenny, Larry, and Lily. Kenny is panicking over his family and Larry is busy banging on the door, threatening the brothers. Kenny remarks on how they need to escape whilst Lily attempts to calm her dad down. The whole time Clementine is just terrified, which prompts Lee to be a great fucking dad once again. Amazing. Larry refuses to calm down and collapses from his heart failing. Larry becomes unresponsive and Kenny states what he believes needs to be done.
Dad, come on! Dad! Oh God, he stopped breathing. I think he's had a heart attack.
Shit. Is he dead?
He's not dead! Somebody help me!
Fuck. If he's dead...
He's not dead!
You know what has to happen, Lee. Think about it. You saw that poor bastard at the motel? How fast he turned?
What are you saying?
He has an extremely valid point. If they don't kill Larry now, it could be detrimental very soon. Lily fights his theory and believes that she can resuscitate him like she's done before. But Kenny's persistent. All he cares about right now is getting back to his family. As I've stated, he believes his family is all that matters. You can side with either Lily or Kenny. With Kenny, you'll restrain Lily as Kenny smashes Larry's head with a salt lick. But if you side with her, you'll give him CPR in hopes to resuscitate him. But ultimately, no matter what you choose, the outcome is always the same.
You're fucking worthless, Lee.
Larry is dead, and whether you liked him or not, Lily just lost her father, as Lee did his. Helping Kenny would be like restraining Duck as you kill Kenny. But he doesn't realize that, because at this point his main priority is his family still. After Larry dies, Lee is tasked with getting everyone the fuck out of there. Because while Clementine's a child, Lily's in shock, Kenny's pissed off, and Larry's, out of it at the moment. Lee finds an air duct that he can dismantle with a quarter, and then...
If you had something I could use as a screwdriver, a coin or something.
No.
What about him? Look, I know this is a terrible time for it, but back at the motor inn, Larry mentioned something about keeping coins in his pockets.
Ah, that's nice. That's called a callback. I like how this episode started with one of my least favorite writing tropes and ended with one I love. If you're gonna use a shotgun in Act 3, establish it in Act 1, you know? It's the same thing with the salt lick. Lee asked Andy what a salt lick was, and now... Lee requests permission to search Lily's dead dad. That's real subtle, Lee. And he finds a couple coins in his pockets. After taking the air duct down, they realize they can't fit in, even though they probably could. Clementine volunteers to do it, and Kenny's way too keen on sending a child off by herself. Clementine crawls through and unlocks the door, freeing us, because she's the best person to ever exist. And then we begin sneaking out. Lee and Kenny spot Danny sitting outside the bar in an attempt to sneak up on him when...
Just guarding the place like you said.
Kenny makes you peek out the door every 2 seconds, and... What were you expecting? Were you expecting him not to see you opening and closing the door over and over again? What, are you fucking dumb? You're fucking dumb, aren't you? Lee and Kenny double team Danny. Kinda. Actually, never mind, Kenny doesn't do shit. Lily then runs out of the barn and fucks up Danny with a hook. And the dumbass gets stuck in his own bear trap. How take that, Rudolph? Lee pulls a pitchfork out of the hay and points it directly at Danny's heart. He begins mocking Lee, saying he won't do it. He can't. Even though I want to impale this red-nosed prick, that would be exactly what he wants. And I would do nothing but prove him right. That you can't survive in this world without cracking a few skulls along the way. So I made the hard but mature choice.
Kill me. Just like he didn't kill Jolene. You don't have what it takes. Fucking coward.
This is not how the world works now. You won't make me kill you.
After sparing Danny, his expression changes immensely. He now looks confused and a whole lot less confident than he was. He wasn't expecting Lee to make that decision, and he's been proven wrong. Sparing the brothers is actually a driving force in Lee's redemption, in my opinion. Instead of letting his past mistakes define him, he instead chooses to move on and better himself. With Danny taken care of, Kenny runs off to find his family, forcing Lee to have to track down the others without his help. Lee begins sneaking onto the property, and when Brenda hears him, she takes Katja at gunpoint. Brenda then slowly backs away from Lee and continuously threatens to kill Katja, even though her facial expressions clearly indicate that she won't. Lee attempts to calm Brenda as she backs up the stairs and directly into Zombie Mark's arms. Oh, the irony. After Lee saves Katja, they go outside to find Andy has Duck at gunpoint, and then Lee and Andy begin fighting, and depending on who you sided with dictates whether or not Lily will help you. For me, she shot Andy with a rifle, which allowed Lee to get the upper hand. He beats Andy to a pulp, showing his violent tendencies are still there. It doesn't seem like he plans to stop until...
Lee, that's enough.
In this moment, we actually learn a lot about Lee. If not for his newly founded family, he could easily snap. Whether or not you choose to kill Andy decides if he fully abandons his old ways or if he keeps it with him. As the group leaves the farm, they come across an abandoned car with loads of supplies in it. Everyone becomes excited until...
Whose car is it?
Don't worry about that, Duck. It's ours now.
It's abandoned, Ducky. Don't worry.
What if it's not? Well, what if it's not abandoned? What if it is someone's?
This is a hard choice. Looting the car would be the obvious thing to do, but wouldn't that make you no better than the bandits you've been fighting? Would that not be hurting others like the St. John's did? Choosing to loot the car makes things a lot better for you and Clementine, but leaving it would make you the better person. Even though it felt wrong, I decided to loot it, which may make me a bad person, but fuck it. The episode ends with Carly and Lee finding a recording on the camcorder. It's a video of the woman Danny killed as she reveals a horrible truth that affects the third episode greatly.
To the way they used to be. The dead don't kill their own. It's the living you gotta be afraid of. The people I used to call friends. The people who just... Don't worry, little girl. Bandits got their eye on that dairy. As long as they keep getting food from them, you'll be safe. I promise.
Yeah, about that. I don't think the dairy can provide food anymore. Fuck. Episode 3 is extremely important. It marks the halfway point for the plot and changes everything drastically. The episode starts with Lee and Kenny going to scavenge from the drugstore. Megan is a lot worse off than when we last saw it. Buildings are collapsing in on themselves and the drugstore has a fucking plane sticking out of it. Lee and Kenny struggle getting inside the drugstore, as Kenny's still healing from the gunshot wound. Whilst they try to get inside, Kenny begins discussing his idea to leave the motel in the RV. I personally agree with this idea, because when we see the hotel it looks like shit. As they're about to enter the drugstore, a woman runs out of a building with a whole fuck ton of walkers chasing her. She gets chomped on like a fucking taco as she keeps alerting walkers to her position. The game makes you choose whether or not to put her off her misery or let her serve as a distraction. Even though Kenny argued with me profusely, I chose to shoot her. This meant we had a lot less time to loot the drugstore, and I mean a lot less. The drugstore gets flooded with walkers, and as Lee and Kenny try to escape, this happens. Oh, great. Oh, that's just perfect. After Lee gets the fuck out from under the door, he gets attacked by a zombie pilot. This just keeps getting better and better. I actually really like this segment. It's very intense and it makes nice use of a previously established location. Lee and Kenny barely escape only to come back to the shitty motel. As soon as we enter, Kenny and Lily start arguing about the idea of leaving. Kenny thinks we should leave, but Lily seems to think that the motel is their best option. And I personally don't agree. And I don't think the game wants you to agree either because the place looks like hell, just look at it. The argument continues and Lily gets heated, and then she makes some heavy accusations.
It's not going to be easier out on the road!
How would you know?
What I know? I know you're not above murder. I know somebody has been stealing our supplies. That's right, stealing! And I know the list of people I can trust here gets smaller every day! Now
Yeah, the game paints a traitor in your group, consisting of people Lee trusts. Every character that's still alive at this point is a character I like too, god damn it. Lily asks Lee to investigate the missing supplies, and as soon as you agree...
A mystery.
Jesus, Doc.
God damn it. You can either tell Duck no or let him help, and honestly he's a good help. He manages to find things that most players would probably overlook at first. Lee eventually finds a bag of supplies hidden in an air duct outside. Holy shit, she was right. After showing the bag to Lily, a group of bandits break into the motel and take the group hostage. Lily sneaks out the back window with a rifle, and Lee is forced to face the bandits head on. The bandits demand double the supplies or they'll kill literally everyone. I was expecting to have to reason with them, but before I knew it...
Is that so? Well, I suppose we ought to hash out some terms then.
I don't like no hash.
Man, shut up, Rob! Christ! Oh shit!
This segment is intense as hell. The player is tasked with covering the group as they make their way towards the RV. The bandits move in very quickly and can be a large threat to the player. But good thing I'm a great fucking shot, check this shit out. Eventually walkers make their way into the motel and start nomming on people. Lee covers Clementine, Katja, and Duck long enough for Clem to get to the RV. But as Katja and Duck go for it, this happens.
Inside the RV! It's gonna be okay, go!
Everyone barely makes their way to the RV, and Kenny speeds the fuck out of there. The group successfully escaped without any losses, and everyone seems to be okay until Lily starts pointing fingers. She starts antagonizing Ben and Carly, and she seems ready to kick Ben out of the group, when... Maybe if Kenny had been paying better attention to the road, the following tragedy would have been avoided. Lily makes everyone get off the RV for some time to talk. She continues to accuse Ben, and no matter how much you stand up for him, she doesn't let off. Carly gets tired of it and...
Let's just get back in the RV. That's not happening.
You think you're some tough bitch, don't you? Like nothing can hurt you. But you're just a scared little girl. Get the fuck over it. Take a page from Lee's book and try helping somebody for once.
Now, what the fuck's the problem?
Drop it.
Carly's death is heartbreaking. She was a genuine great character with good motives. She died defending Ben's honor and didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. Her death was so unexpected that she didn't even turn around all the way before she got shot. And of course the developers teased a possible relationship between her and Lee at the beginning of the episode, god damn it. I guess that plot died on the side of the curve along with Carly, huh? After realizing what just happened, Lee immediately pins Lily against RV. The game makes you choose whether or not to abandon Lily or bring her with you after what she's done. And even though I liked Lily at times, and I also agree with her too, I couldn't let her stay with the group after what she just did. The group piles back into the RV, 2 people smaller than when they gotten off. The last shot we see of Lily is her fleeing from the walkers alerted from the gunshot. This entire scene always stuck with me. Everything could have been fine if Lily acted more rational. And the things couldn't get any worse.
What's up? Is Duck feeling alright? What the fuck?
Happened during the raid.
Lee having to break the news to Clementine is heartbreaking. Clementine's about to lose the only other friend she's had her age this whole time. And I think she also realizes it could have been her. Lee and Clementine have a memorable conversation during the RV ride. In typical Walking Dead fashion, things couldn't be calm for even a second. Something's off, but I can't put my, oh Jesus. Not only was that nightmare terrifying, it says a lot about what Lee's thinking right now. Even if they don't acknowledge it, they all know what's going to happen to Duck. And the idea of that happening to Clementine is something that haunts Lee. The group's drive is cut short by a large train blocking the road. So how the fuck are we going to deal with this? Lee and Kenny get access to the front of the train and find out it still fucking works. You're then tasked with getting the thing moving. You have the option to talk to Katja, and the conversation really stuck out to me.
Thank you. Perfect. He's allergic to bees.
Is that right?
That's all I can keep thinking about. Like, somehow that matters.
It doesn't.
I know. Well, I don't, but you're probably right.
That's heartbreaking. It might not seem like much, but it's clear Katja is clinging onto everything she can about her son. She's not ready to let him go, and you can see that. After starting the train, Lee meets a man named Chuck, a homeless man who's been living on the train since it started. He doesn't pose a threat and doesn't even seem scared of the people stealing his home. He's just a genuine person who still has faith in other people. After Lee and Kenny get the train started, the group doesn't make it long before.
What's...
Would you get that off his face? My hands are full here. Thank you. Could you just get that off his face, please?
Lee tells Kenny to stop the train. This interaction can have multiple outcomes. You could anger him, causing Lee and him to get into a quick fight, or you could defuse him. Kenny blames himself for Sean's death, all the way back when everything started. He even told Lee in the drugstore.
Fine. What is the goddamn deal? He's a little sick, but we can't just quit. It's a scratch. He's not like the others. Jesus, all y'all are just making it worse.
This isn't about Duck.
It's not about my son dying. What the hell do you know? You're not my friend.
I don't hate you.
You sure as shit haven't done anything for me.
You think you're the reason Duck was bitten? Like you had this coming or something? You didn't kill Herschel's son.
Yes, I did. And now it's catching up to me.
That's not what went down. You looked out for your kid, and a bad thing happened to someone else's.
There ain't no way this world lets my son live when I help put someone else's in the ground.
That's not the way it works. You know that. Stop the train, man.
After convincing Kenny it wasn't his fault, he stops the train to talk to Katja. This is tragic. Even if you don't like Duck as a character, hell, I don't blame you. You can't deny that having to watch a father in denial over his dying son is heartbreaking.
Take as long as you need.
There ain't no time left to take. What are we gonna do?
We can't allow him to become one of those things.
But what if he doesn't?
Kenny, I love you very much. I love our son more than life itself. I need you to hear me. What you are saying, that he may not turn, is foolish.
But
no.
There's... Come on, Kat.
If you think of one, you let me know.
Isn't there some sort of pill or something we can just give him?
Stop it.
Just drift off to sleep. Right, hon? I mean, Jesus, this is our son.
I know, but we know it's here or nothing.
Fuck. Just who, then? You want me to?
His family's everything to him, and he's about to lose his son. And that's horrible. It sets up Kenny's arc for the remainder of the game perfectly. Katja takes Duck into the woods to put him out of his misery, and it's not very long until...
Look, Clem, things are... What the... No! Ben, take Clementine into the train. Go. It'll be fine.
When this happened, my heart sank. Kenny was already about to lose his son, and now he'll be grieving for both him and his wife. It was already clear that Katja couldn't handle Duck's death well, and her suicide sticks out to the player. Duck lies against a tree on the verge of death, and someone needs to make sure he doesn't come back. The game gives you the choice to make Kenny do it or to do it yourself. Lee says,
No, it should be apparent.
No parent should have to do something like this.
and I agree with that, so I made the choice to do it myself. Lee and Kenny return to the train and continue to ride in silence. Kenny sits in the conductor chair and doesn't say a word. Chuck recommends that Lee teach Clementine how to defend herself. And cut that mop of a haircut. Hey, his words, not mine. So Lee cuts Clementine's hair and teaches her to shoot. This is one of my favorite segments with them. It's charming, but it also makes me tear up that a girl this age has to learn these things. As Lee goes to talk to Chuck, Ben stops him.
Huh?
I was the one giving the bandits supplies.
What?
The reveal that Ben was part of the trade deal wasn't initially shocking, but considering all the events that transpired from it, it's kind of a big deal. He says he plans to tell Kenny it was his fault, and I told him he was being dumb as shit. What are you, fucking dumb? You're fucking dumb, aren't you? The group eventually comes across a crashed truck blocking the road. Because of course. And here we meet Chris and Omid, literally the nicest people on Earth. Lee and Clementine go search the abandoned building for supplies, and show off the fact that they are the dream team. We're the new Batman and Robin, sorry Duck, but you're out. They find a blowtorch to cut the truck down with, and Lee and Omid attempt to cut that shit down. Lee almost dies and Omid saves him like the saint he is, and as repayment for his kind deed, Lee dangles him off the side of the bridge. They cut the truck down and surprise, surprise, walkers have been following the sound of the train for miles. Kenny starts the train, causing Lee and Omid to have to jump off the bridge. Lee lands fine, whilst Omid... Krista goes back to help Omid onto the train, and no matter who you choose to help up, the other person gets pissed at you. God damn it, I was just trying to help. Omid and Krista join the group as the train continues down the tracks. The episode ends as the group arrives in Savannah. Finally, a glimmer of hope, until...
She's out cold like I've never seen.
Can't wait for you to get to Savannah, Clementine. I got your parents right here, and you be sure to find me, whether Lee wants you to or not. Now, what I need...
Holy shit.
I thought that fucking thing was broken.
So did I.
Well, shit. Episode 4 is a lot. Episode 4 definitely has the most going on in it, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I don't think this game has bad things. Episode 4 should be dubbed, "Hey, let's get a boat. Oh, but never mind, we're fucked." The episode begins with the group ditching the train and traveling on foot through Savannah. During their walk, they see nothing but emptiness for miles and miles, and it seems like it might be a straight shot to the marina, until...
What the hell?
Maybe this...
A church bell starts ringing out of nowhere, and a horde of walkers also comes out of fucking nowhere. As the group gets attacked, Ben ditches Clementine, forcing Chuck to save her. During the midst of the action, Chuck gets separated from the group and chased down the street. The rest of the group takes shelter in the backyard of a mansion. Omid's leg has gotten worse, so they need to get inside fast. They come to find that the back door is locked and they need to find another way in. They notice a locked doggy door, and then Lee is tasked with digging up a dead fucking dog so he can open the door. How fun. Lee opens the doggy door, and Clementine immediately dips inside. She unlocks the door, and here you can either praise her or yell at her for her actions. Once the group's inside, Lee, Ben, and Kenny begin searching the house. Ben calls Lee upstairs as Kenny won't come out of the attic. After entering the attic, we find Kenny kneeled over, and... Fuck. As soon as the group finds anywhere remotely safe, Kenny is reminded once again of what he just lost. The game gives you the option to kill it or have him kill it. I chose to kill it for obvious reasons. Lee takes the boy out back to bury him with his dog. You didn't have a depressing ass scene where Lee buries the boy, and it's interrupted by...
Hey! Hey!
Okay, great, so now we have someone ringing bells and someone stalking us. Fucking fantastic. After the group is semi-settled in, Lee and Kenny head out to the marina.
Oh my god.
There's gotta be a boat. There's gotta be.
I think most people were expecting this reveal, but it still caught me off guard. Kenny finds a quote-unquote salvageable boat and then tells you to check the surrounding piers for another boat. Lee doesn't see jack shit until, well, shit. As the hardcore parkour survivor raids his stand, Kenny and Lee create a plan to get the drop on him. Kenny sneaks around to the alleyway for cover, and Lee goes straight up for it, bruh. But after he reaches the register...
What the?
After a quick fight with the survivor, Lee almost gets murdered when Clementine saves him. Hey, Kenny? What the fuck have you been doing this whole time? The girl introduced herself as Molly, and then Kenny finally decides to do something.
Kenny, don't!
Molly explains her method of bell ringing when Kenny spots a giant wall of walkers. What the actual fuck? Apparently behind this wall is a place called Crawford, where only the strong survive and shit like that. Molly tells him that she could tell they weren't part of that group because Clementine. So Crawford is basically just a shit place for shit people, huh? Dope, Larry would fit right in. Suddenly their introduction is cut short by a fuck ton of walkers, and Molly straight up ditches the group. She plans on leaving them behind until...
Hey! You're just gonna leave us here?
sorry. I must have missed that part of our conversation where you became my problem.
Don't leave us here, please.
Lee helps Kenny and Clementine onto the fire escape, but he doesn't have time to make it himself. Molly throws Lee his tool so he can pry open a manhole and narrowly escape. Lee navigates the sewer and eventually comes across a ladder. He attempts to do hardcore parkour but ends up busting his shit instead. He knocked a sign loose attempting parkour and finds a secret room behind it. All that's in this room is a door, and what's behind that door? One of the old men in this room aims a gun at Lee, asking him to leave. Lee attempts to calm the man down, and this dumb bitch keeps telling him to shoot him. After Lee gets the gun, he convinces him that he's not from Crawford, who doesn't allow this group there because they survived cancer. But they decide to live right under them anyway. Great plan, guys. The man with the gun's name is Vernon, and he's a doctor. Lee tells him he needs to get back to Clementine. Vernon shows him how to navigate the sewers, and they eventually make their way back. After Krista begs, Vernon agrees to check on Mead's leg. Lee begins searching for Clementine but only finds Kenny getting shit-faced, completely giving up considering the current boat situation. Lee lectures Ben for not noticing Clementine leave earlier and losing her again now. He goes to the backyard and hears a bang on the shed door. Lee opens it only to get body checked by a 9-year-old. Clementine tells Lee she found something and
Come look! Look what I found!
This was here the whole time?
I know, right?
final fucking Lee. The group has been through so much that seeing them win is the greatest feeling ever. Kenny checks the boat and tells the group it needs gas and a new battery if it's going anywhere. So the group considers their options and realizes, unfortunately, the only way they can get any of those things is from Crawford. Fuck. At first Vernon is reluctant, but eventually agrees since he can get the proper medical supplies to help Omid. The group readies up to go, and you're given the option to bring Clementine or make her stay home. She doesn't really do anything if you do bring her, except one important thing which we'll get into later. I decide to bring her anyway. And if Vernon gets to bring this dumb bitch from earlier who's apparently named Bree, then I get to bring someone too. Our group sneaks into Crawford via the sewer, and once they arrive it's surprisingly more quiet than they expected. Lee spots a guard and sneaks up on him when...
What the fuck?
The group takes refuge in a high school, and split up to go get the supplies they need. Lee goes to the garage area to get a battery, when Molly disappears to fuck knows where, leaving Lee by himself. Lee attempts to get into the garage by himself when... Jesus fucking Christ!
One more!
He's wearing medical scrubs. Some kind of scientist or doctor, maybe?
Yeah, well, he ain't shit now.
A group of walkers are alerted to their location, and they barely make it into the garage. Lee uses Molly's tool to lower the car, and...
I did it. Whoa, whoa!
They steal the battery and narrowly climb on top of the truck. They search for a way out, and Lee shoots out the skylight. They climb onto the roof, and now it's Lee's turn for some hardcore parkour.
Nice car!
Lee and Molly re-enter the school, and she dips, saying she'll hold onto the battery so they don't leave her behind. Lee goes to check up on the others when... Well, that's just great, isn't it? The walkers were already an issue, but now they know exactly where we are. Dope. Lee goes to help Vernon and Krista in a medical room. They tell him they can't get into the locker where the supplies are stored as it's locked. Lee finds a tape of the doctor talking to a patient about her pregnancy. He tells her she needs to get rid of it, or she can't stay in Crawford. He almost opens the locker before the patient leaves. He recognizes the doctor from the alleyway, and he goes to search his corpse for another tape. Lee finds the other tape on him, and I guess it didn't break when he was thrown off the building. Whatever. This tape continues the story of the pregnant woman, and also reveals the combination when... Holy shit. It's scary to think that one person's death led to the entire demise of this community. It could have easily happened back at the motel. They get the supplies and Lee runs into Molly on the way back. The player is able to figure out the pregnant woman was Molly's sister if they investigate well enough. But I don't remember how to do it, so fuck it. Lee and Molly start heading back to the classroom when Ben almost turns him into lunch meat.
Sorry. I just got spooked by those bells, and then I heard someone coming. Kenny and I still can't get the door open to the armory. He sent me out to look for something we can use to bust it open. I found this.
Ben? Where did you get that?
I just found it. It was stuck in the door handle at the end of the hallway back there.
Oh shit. Molly is attacked by a walker, and depending on if you chose to teach Clementine how to shoot or not, Molly could be separated from the group here. This was an important Clementine thing I mentioned. Since shooting in this game is like shooting with your ass cheeks, it could be hard to save Molly here. The group takes refuge in the classroom as they attempt to escape through the armory. In the heat of the moment, Ben decides to tell Kenny the truth. And even if you plead with him, you can't stop the inevitable. Kenny and Ben have been building a bond over the last couple days, and that's immediately shattered at this moment. It's tragic to see the group fall apart when things should be going well. The group decides to vote whether or not Ben can stay. Kenny obviously says no, Krista also says no until...
That at risk. Wait, don't I get a vote?
Of course you do.
Ben's nice. He's my friend. We don't leave friends behind. That's my vote.
On second thought, I think I'm gonna abstain. Lee?
And it expects you to vote as well. And honestly, am I the only person who likes Ben? Because it seems like it. I voted for him to stay. Because why would I leave a genuinely likable character behind?
What about the rest of us? Don't we get a say?
No, you don't get a vote. You're not even part of this group. What are you, fucking dumb? You're fucking dumb, aren't you? Well shit, you're fucking dead, aren't you? Kenny gets the armory door open and that shit's more empty than Bree's insides. Get it? Kenny finds a shotgun at the bottom of the stairs and you have to fight your way all the way up to the top. In this kind of annoying shooting segment. Lee gets his leg stuck, it's a whole ass thing. Let's move on. The group begins escaping through the window when... This scene will always stick with me. After everything Ben's done, he tells you to drop him. And I know a lot of players are fine with that, because they hate his guts. And I can understand not liking Ben, after what he's done. But he had good intentions, and I think dropping him prevents him from completing his character arc. So I pulled him up. The walkers chase him out of the building and they head back to the mansion. Vernon heals Omid's leg, and before he leaves, he offers to take Clementine with him. He doesn't come off as an asshole here, he's just a concerned man who wants to help. He tells Lee to think about it and then leaves. Lee goes to find Clementine and runs into Molly. She tells him she's going off on her own since she's always done better that way. They say their goodbyes and she leaves. Lee finds Clementine in the office. She wonders if there will be time for them to look for her parents tomorrow before they leave. And when the dialogue option said lie next to it, my heart shattered. I already knew we weren't going to find her parents, but having to hurt Clementine after promising her broke me and broke Lee as well. Lee goes to sleep and when he wakes up, Clementine is gone. He searches everywhere for her and eventually finds her hat out back. Oh god, what happened?
No.
Fuck. Lee? Lee? You out here? Lee?
Are you crazy? What are you doing out here? It ain't
Lee is bitten. It's all over. The character we've been with the entire game is bit, and we're going to lose him. The group finds Lee and you have the option whether or not to show the bite wound. I chose to show it to them and they all decide to help me find Clementine, except for Kenny. Lee thinks Vernon took her, and they go back to his hideout to find it empty. But the radio voice speaks again. The man who'd been talking to Clementine and stalking us finally got her. What are we gonna do?
Vernon, if that's what you're thinking. And you should really watch your tone. Clementine's fine. But if I were you, I'd choose my next words very carefully.
Vernon, get out here! There doesn't have to be any trouble here. All I want is the girl. Give her back and nobody needs to get hurt. Clementine, are you all right? Where are you? Vernon, you son of a bitch.
Hello, Lee.
Who is this?
It's not Vernon if that's what you're thinking. And you should really watch your tone. Clementine's fine. But if I were you, I'd choose my next words very carefully.
Please, don't hurt her.
Hurt her? I'm not the one who hurts people. There's an ocean of dead between you and me and her, and if I can thank God for anything anymore, it's that.
The man over the radio tells Lee he doesn't hurt people, which is a teaser for what he's planning. The group are about to set out to find Clem when they're attacked by walkers. Lee pries the elevator doors open and...
What the hell happened? It's the bite. Well, what can we do? I don't know. Help me move him.
Jesus. Are you sure this will help?
You got any better ideas? Okay, it's now or never.
Stop! He's awake! He's awake!
The game makes you choose whether or not to cut his arm off, and I decided to go for the slim chance that it would help.
You got...
Try to stay still!
Oh, God!
I know!
After that horrific sequence is over, the group climbs onto the elevator shaft to safety. They find themselves stuck on top of the building as a horde of walkers surround the area. There's a bell tower right next to them, and they use a fucking ladder as a bridge to get across.
Shit.
Wow, who would have thought that would happen? Holy shit. Lee rings the bell and the walkers come towards the tower. But how's he gonna get back to the group? Well, it looks like he's gonna have to do some hardcore parkour once again. He yeets himself across, and he barely makes it. The group makes their way onto the streets and back to their mansion. In another gut punch, the group loses the only escape plan they had. A bunch of cancer patient dickheads beat up Kenny and stole it. In a fit of rage, Kenny gets on Ben's case again, when Ben finally stands up for himself.
All chill! Not just you!
Chill. Lee's bitten and God knows how long he has left. Clementine is who the fuck knows, and we're robbed of the only hope we've had.
So?
So Lee should have left your ass in Crawford. We got enough problems.
Fuck you, Kenny! I am so sorry about Katja and Duck. I am! And I know I fucked up. But stop pushing me around and stop wishing I was dead! No! You know how they died. You said goodbye. I never got to see my family, my parents, my little sister. Do you get that? Your family is gone, but at least you had them to lose. I never made it home. They could be alive or dead or walkers or worse, and I don't know. So give me a fucking break!
That's beautiful and tragic. Most players probably didn't even think about that, and Ben's right. Kenny should be happy that he got that closure with his family. And that's what I meant when I said he completes his character arc. Kenny begins to apologize when suddenly...
Oh, Ben,
Oh shit! Here they come!
In the house!
The group rushes inside and Lee finally embraces his leadership abilities he's always had. Instead of deciding if a person he agrees with, Lee finally makes the calls himself. In episode 2, Carly tells Lee he would be a great leader, so Omid sees that the front door is wide fucking open, and the group works together to keep the walkers from getting in. Lee grabs a butcher's knife from the kitchen and straight up Texas Chainsaw massacres their asses. They get the door shut, but the walkers just come in through the windows anyway. They rush upstairs and take a final stand as a group, and it's beautiful to see everyone working together one last time, even after everything that's happened. They all take cover in the attic, and once they realize they're trapped in there, Kenny gets on his Larry shit again, but with Lee this time. As they start arguing about the possibility he'll turn, Lee gets angered and throws a fucking statue at the wall. The wall breaks away with no efforts, and the group realizes they can get through it to the other mansion next door. They use a coat hanger to smash through. Lee, Omid, and Krista sit down and begin discussing Clementine, who will take her if Lee doesn't make it. Even though they don't want to think about it, the game still makes you choose who she should go with. Even though I love Kenny, I had to choose Omid and Krista. Kenny swaps out with Omid and finds a bottle of whiskey in a box. Lee, Kenny, and Krista share a drink together as friends, putting all their disagreements behind them and coming together permanently. They all decide to go to the countryside after killing the bastard that kidnapped Clementine. They all agree that they would be safer there, especially Clementine. Omid breaks through the wall and the group enters the mansion next door. As soon as they enter, they see Of course Kenny has to think about his family again, but instead of just responding with silence or anger, he says,
She left me. A son. People that cared about us. I forgive her, but it don't make it any less wrong. You don't just end it, 'cause it's hard. You stick it out, and you help the folks you care about. So let's figure a way out of here and get that little girl.
We should move.
That's amazing, and it really shows who he's become as a character. They make their way onto the balcony of the bedroom and use it to jump over to the next building. Everyone makes it across smoothly until Ben...
Me and my fucking mouth. Holy fuck!
Holy shit. The group stands in shock, and before we know it, Kenny runs down the ladder to go help Ben. Lee follows him and they clear the trash off of Ben when...
Fucking hell.
Oh shit. What are they gonna do? Kenny tries desperately to get Ben off the pole, and when he looks at what happened to him, his face is heartbreaking. Kenny tries again to free Ben when...
Oh God, don't let them get to me!
They have one bullet left from the gun the couple had, and Kenny makes the hard choice.
Do you have any bullets left? This has only got one left in it.
I'm out.
Shit. Get the fuck out of here.
What?
Go back. She needs you, Lee.
Kenny!
This is not a discussion!
Hell no, man! I'm not leaving!
What did I just say?
Let's get Ben and get out of here! What the fuck, Kenny?
Lee, it's okay.
No, kid. No, it's not!
It's just something I gotta do. You know that. Go get that girl. Back, you sons of bitches!
Damn it, Kenny! Ah! God damn it!
Oh, fuck! Kenny, please!
The scene is Kenny completing his arc. He goes from being a selfish family man to someone who's willing to sacrifice himself for a friend. This is something he would do for his family in a heartbeat, because Ben and the group are his new family. When Lee gets back to the top of the building, he is speechless and broken. Krista tells Lee now that Kenny's gone, her and Omid need to stay safe, and the severity of the situation just got worse. They continue traversing the rooftops, when they eventually come across the hotel where Clementine's parents were staying, and where the stranger is keeping her. Lee gets the idea to cross a large sign to the other side when the thing fucking collapses. Lee tells Kristen and Omid to find him and Clementine later. He goes down to face the horde of walkers with nothing but a butcher's knife and his love for Clementine. I think this is when Lee is fully redeemed as a character. What he did before the outbreak officially doesn't matter anymore. And everything he's done to get here doesn't matter either. Lee is risking his life to save Clementine, his daughter, and it's absolutely beautiful. Lee reaches the hotel and finds the room where Clem is being held. He goes to unlock the door where she's being held when
I got us adjoining rooms.
the man makes Lee unload all his stuff onto a table, and they sit down to talk. The man reveals to Lee that he's been watching them all this time, and he's seen all their horrible deeds. But who is this man?
I don't know anything about you.
You wouldn't. People like you don't. Now you're thinking, who would have it out for me, huh? A few weeks back, there might have been a station wagon in the forest, full of all sorts of food, water, things you need to survive.
Holy shit. This reveal was fucking terrifying. Most players probably didn't even remember looting the car, but this man will never forget. Lee's actions led to the death of his family, and he's blind to the fact that his actions have led to the death of Lee's. The man, whilst having decent points, is unstable, and just as bad as Lee is. This new world changed everybody, and he's blind to how it changed him. He begins talking to his decapitated wife when...
I miss you so much, Tess. You're gonna like Clementine a lot, though. She's not Lizzie, but she's sweet. She wouldn't hurt a fly.
Lee and the man fight for a good minute before Lee gets the upper hand on him. Lee murdered him in cold blood. Even though it was in self-defense, the man managed to bring out Lee's dark side once again, which he abandoned so long ago. The man proved that it is still very much a part of him. Lee makes sure he doesn't turn. After everything that has happened, Lee is finally reunited with Clementine.
That's right, sweet pea.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Your arm's gone. Why? That's so scary.
I had an accident. We'll talk about it somewhere safe.
You don't smell good.
Yeah, I know. Did he hurt you?
No. Not really. I'm sorry, Lee.
Clem, it's okay. We need to get you somewhere safe. And then we have to talk, okay?
Yeah.
Everything's okay now. We need to figure out how to get out of Savannah as fast as we can.
This is the only heartwarming thing in this entire scene, and I love it so much. They go to leave when... The walker didn't attack Lee, it went straight for Clementine. Why is that?
It didn't bite you.
Yeah, I know it. Must have.
You're covered in all that gross stuff.
I had to get through a bunch of them to get here. That's how we'll get out of Savannah.
Oh shit. Lee cuts the walker open and has to smear the guts on Clem so she can traverse safely. What follows is a tense-ass scene of them walking through the horde outside the hotel. They seem to be doing okay, until... When I saw this, my heart sunk into my stomach. We as the players already had a pretty good idea that Clem's parents didn't make it, and her waiting so long to find them, only to see this, is heartbreaking. Lee faints, and Clem drags him into an abandoned jewelry store. Lee wakes up and consoles Clem about her parents. He tells her to get the door back open, as he's clearly gotten worse, but Clem tells him it's jammed. In fear of what he'll potentially do, Lee begins looking for another way out. He tries to walk himself but collapses onto the display counter. Clementine gives him support as he presses on, but as soon as he reaches the end of the counter, Lee collapses to the ground. Clementine begs him to stand, but he isn't able to. You didn't have to guide Clementine on how to escape the room. Lee spots a bat under the counter and tells Clem to use it on the window. She smashes the glass and stands on top of a chair to get the door open. In this room lied a walker stuck on a broken display table. Lee tells her to go for his gun and keys when...
Get him!
As Clementine flees from the walker, she knocks over a stand that lands on the walker. Lee kicks the bat over to her, and Clem uses all her strength to kill the walker for good. She then loots it for its keys and gun, and this scene is tragic. The game makes Lee say goodbye to Clementine, and then you have to choose whether she shoots him or leaves him. Even though it was hard to decide, Lee shouldn't have to become a walker.
And also...
What is it?
No, don't worry. All right. I'll miss you.
Me too.
After Lee's tragic death, the game picks up with Clementine by herself, outside of Savannah, walking through a large field. She stops to take a break when she spots two figures in the distance. She almost calls out to them but then stops herself. It seems like they keep walking, but one of them turns and spots Clementine in the distance, and the game cuts to black. That ending is beautiful. Lee's death is heartbreaking, and Clementine being able to take care of herself shows that he did his job right in the end. And we already know the two people in the distance are Krista and Omid, but before the sequel came out, no one knew this for sure, and the sense of uncertainty does the game a huge favor. Do I really need to say more about this game? Do I really need to further justify my love for it even after everything I've talked about? Yes, but no. I don't need to justify why I think this is the best zombie story ever written, because honestly, it's just my opinion. And even if it has some problems, I can always look back on this video and be happy that I got to talk about this game, and get this off of my chest. Telltales The Walking Dead is a masterpiece, and nothing will ever change that.